My guest at this time was the first ever three-time Ring of Honor World Champion, a Ring of Honor Triple Crown Champion, an NXT Triple Crown Champion. He's the longest reigning champion in NXT Pro Wrestling Guerrilla history. He is the leader of the Chugs. You can find that on twitch.tv/the Chugs. And he is the leader of the Undisputed Kingdom. So by now, you know it's story time with Adam Cole, baby. Adam, how are you,
Yes,
sir?
I'm doing great, man. Today's like a really, really exciting day for me. It's my first match back and the longest I've gone without wrestling in over a year. So very excited, very nervous, but ready to rock and roll, getting back to doing what I love to do. So yeah, today's a big day. But I'm doing awesome. I'm feeling good.
And that match is on Dynamite tonight, 8 o'clock on TBS. It's in Cleveland, Ohio. You're fighting Buddy Murphy,
Yeah.
if I have the information
But
up to
Buddy
date.
Matthews. Yep.
Buddy Matthews.
Yep. No, people do it all the time. People do it all the time.
It's just it's like it's conditioning because you see something over and
Exactly.
over, and it's like I know he's Buddy Matthews, and it just like it comes out
Of
like.
course.
So my apologies for that.
Oh, no
Now
worries.
don't hopefully I don't get sued for that one. So you're coming back tonight. It's your first match back. How has the last year of injury and rehab and all of that kind of come together?
So it's been, truth be told, just to be as transparent as possible, and I think this kind of goes without saying, but there's been a ton of ups and downs. I think both mentally and physically. Because again, really the past 2 years that I've had have been some of the most challenging of my entire career. Again, I had the pretty serious concussion injury where I was out for an extended period of time. I came back. But had a run I was really proud of for about 6 months, especially considering we did our first all in event in Wembley Stadium. And I got to open that show and main event that show. So I was like flying high. I was feeling so great about everything. And then, of course, this freak injury happened with my ankle. So mentally, it was incredibly discouraging. And physically, it was definitely one of the biggest challenges I've gone through. Again, I think I touched on this a little bit, but now I'm more so opening up about what really happened. But truth be told, my ankle did practically explode. Like I had
Wow.
to have two surgeries within 7 days. I had a cadaver bone, meaning someone else's bone, in my ankle, as well as a bunch of different screws and stuff. So the rehab was quite a difficult process, like to be expected. But again, the whole time I was just thinking about, I got to get back, I got to get back. And then as it got closer and closer, and I started feeling better and feeling like myself again, mentally you start feeling better, physically you start feeling better, and now it feels like just yesterday I was in a rehab room trying to get my ankle back to a point where I could even run on a treadmill, and now I'm getting ready to wrestle on AEW Dynamite tonight. So again, ups and downs is probably the best description, but now I'm feeling really, really good, really confident, and really motivated to make tonight a special one.
That's awesome. I know from I met you a couple years in Dallas at a meet and greet,
Yeah,
and I know that as I transition into talking to you about your MJF story,
yeah,
I know that after I met you, I told a couple people, "Oh, I finally met Adam Cole, like, bucket list item checked off." And now I get to interview, which is pretty cool.
it's
Uh,
awesome.
and one of the things that a person said to me was, "If you don't like Adam Cole, you're a jerk. You're an a-hole. You're a bad person." Adam, is described to me as Adam Cole is like the nicest, sweetest person in the world.
Uh-uh.
So I have that as the preamble for a bigger picture question, which leads into the MJF story, is
Yeah,
you cost MJF the world titles, Samoa Joe. You reveal yourself as the devil, which is
yes.
hilarious because I'm like, no, Adam Cole doesn't scream devil to me, but that's the story. So you cost MJF the world titles, Samoa Joe. You come back and you're a good guy now? Question
Mhm.
mark.
Right, right. No, and I understand big time why a lot of this could be confusing or hard to understand. But I think the easiest way for me to put this is to do my best to remind everyone who the real MJF is.
There it
I
is.
mean, again, and I mean this truthfully, but again, did what the Undisputed Kingdom do, was it mean, nasty, and a little extreme? Yeah, yeah, it probably was, but I honestly mean this. It needed to be. MJF really needed to be taught a lesson. The way he's treated anyone he's ever interacted with all throughout AEW, whether it's Wardlow, Sammy Guevara, Danny Garcia. This guy has shown his true colors time and time again. And the truth is, Adam Cole, I may be a nice guy, but I'm also not stupid. This is not my first rodeo. I know what type of guy that MJF is. I know the lesson that I needed to teach him. And it was a mean one. But I really do think for the betterment of AEW, otherwise MJF is going to walk all over everyone for years and years and years. And if I'm the guy who needs to teach him that lesson, then so be it. I do care about my fans. I do care about AEW. MJF, all he's ever cared about is himself, even though he wants you to believe that he pretended to care about our friendship, if you want to call it that. He kept me close because he felt like I was a threat. And I think anyone who's smart enough to really pay attention will realize that. Again, I know it's a confusing situation, but sometimes, as you know, as anyone who's lived life knows, life can be confusing sometimes and filled with shades of gray. But I stand by what I did. I do.
I'm not disputing it. Like, I think
Yeah.
he got what he deserves. So
Yeah.
I'm on
Yeah.
your side on this one. I'm just like trying to, because I
No,
have this
of
bigger
course, it's a
picture.
good question to ask. It is because it's intriguing. It's different. It's not as black and white as things can be sometimes in the world of professional wrestling. But again, for because I know some people have questioned it before too. But I stand by that. Even though it looked like the wrong thing to do, in the long run, it will be the right thing to do. It really will.
In reality, in my mind, well, in my mind, it's not reality. But had you been healthy, in my mind, the story ends with you winning the world title at World's End, not Samoa Joe. Was that ever talked about? Like, when we get to another match with you and MJF, like, you're winning the world title here instead of
So
Samoa Joe.
as you know, in the world of professional wrestling, there are constantly different ideas being thrown around or changes constantly. So do I know for sure that I was going to be in line to becoming the AEW world champion? I'm not totally sure, but that's certainly where it seemed like we were going. That's certainly the direction that I think very possibly could have happened had I not been injured, which really did add to the mental anguish of the of
Yeah.
the entire process. But again, there are constant roadblocks thrown in our way all the time. We got to adapt. We have to pivot. And I still got a lot of my wrestling career left, so I certainly hope the AEW World Title is in my future, in the future.
Oh, I hope so. I hope you're the one who knocks off John Moxley, but
Yeah,
that's a you got to get through MJF, and you will. You'll be fine. But
yeah,
you'll eventually get to Moxley, and that's a match that I am excited to eventually see. Hopefully, if it happens, Tony Khan, if you're listening, I know you are. You're on the
me
internet
too.
constantly. I know you want this match too. Um, so being backing up a little bit on the MJF thing is
Yeah,
Wembley Stadium main event. How exciting is that for you to be in the main event in front of 80,000 people or 90,000,
my
whatever the
God.
number is?
Uh, it was the most incredible night of my entire life. Like seriously. Like again, I eat, sleep, and breathe pro wrestling. I love it more than anything. It's all I've ever wanted to do since I was 9 years old. And thinking, first of all, I never in a million years thought I would wrestle at Wembley Stadium. I never even thought of that as a possibility or an option. When I heard that AEW was running an event there, the biggest show we've ever done, and then hearing about the attendance, I was blown away. And then knowing that I got to main event that show was just absolutely unbelievable. It's so funny because that night was so wild that it felt like such a blur, which is normally the case for when I'm in a high pressure situation. Lots of times I just to mentally prepare myself, I almost detach from it. Like I try not to think about it too much just so I can get the job done and focus on the work. And then afterwards you're like, "Oh my God, that really happened." And that tenfold is how I felt about Wembley Stadium. Just the crowd was unbelievable all night. It felt truly special. It felt like an event that people will remember for years and years and years. And to be involved in the main event of that show with a roster filled with the best pro wrestlers in the world was beyond humbling and so cool. And just was a, hard work really does pay off moment.
We've heard a lot of stories, and we've actually seen some security footage about what a crazy time that was in Wembley, but that's a side
Right.
topic.
Yeah.
If you want to go, AEW Dynamite is in Manchester on Wednesday, November 6th. Collision is on November 7th in Providence, Rhode Island. Wednesday, November 13th is Bridgeport, Connecticut. All you can get your tickets at aewtix.com, aewtix.com. And I assume you'll be on all three of those shows. That's how your
Yes, I
schedule's
should
looking
be.
right now.
I should be. Yep. Right back at it.
So you're the leader of the Undisputed Kingdom again, and there were some questions as if you were going to have the services of Matt Taven, Michael Bennett, Roddy Strong, and now you're all back together. You're all aligned, and you're going after one goal, and that's MJF, right?
Yeah. Yes. That is correct. You know, when I first came back again, I was kind of laser focused on continuing what I started with MJF, and being gone for so long and just thinking about being able to get back into the ring. I had to remind myself that again, the Undisputed Kingdom wasn't just built to destroy MJF, but again, we really are close friends. We've known each other for over a decade. I know these guys really have my back, and I truly do have their back. They're some of my best friends that I've ever had. They're some of the best pro wrestlers in the entire world. So yeah, proudly a part of the Undisputed Kingdom.
I would also add Matt and Mike, and they're both New England guys. They're two of the best people I've ever met in pro wrestling.
Without question.
You
Yeah.
know, they're good people. So I'm glad that
Yeah.
y'all are back together, because when you're like, oh, I don't need them, I'm like, now I have to question whether I want to cheer for Adam Cole or not.
Right. Right.
Which actually leads to another question, Adam, that it's kind of a bigger picture question. Like you,
Sure.
the wrestling character, do you want the lifelong fan who is like, I'm live or die Adam Cole, like I am with the Patriots or the Red Sox? Or do you want the fan who gets immersed in the story and it's like, okay, Adam Cole is a good guy or a bad guy, and I'm going to cheer him when he's good, or I'm going to boo him when he's bad? What would you, the performer, prefer?
Oh, that is such a good question. And I certainly would prefer um, the cheer me when I'm good and boo me when I'm bad. Because I do think, and again, don't get me wrong, I love dearly whether I am a good guy or a bad guy. I love the kind messages. I love meeting people at meet and greets and hearing that they've been fans for a long time, or the support and things like that. That does mean the world. But during the show, when the bell rings and the lights are on, um, I love when people play along. I love when people go along with the show and what we're trying to tell them. Of course, the beautiful thing about pro wrestling is the audience has complete freedom to decide to cheer who they want and boo who they want, which adds like this extra dynamic and this extra special feeling amongst a pro wrestling show. But generally speaking, yeah, when I'm the hero, I really hope for cheers, and when I'm the villain, I really hope they're booing me out of the building.
Okay, so I'm a bad fan when it comes to you, because so here's the scenario, right? And I've always wanted to
I
talk to you
appreciate
about
it
this
all. I
match.
appreciate it all. Yeah.
I know you do, and it's like this. It's this weird like vibe, because I'm 43 and I see more interest a lot of times in the villains or people who I've had good
Yes.
experiences with. It's a different experience than say for my 6-year-old daughter, who like is like, oh, we love this person, daddy likes this person,
Right.
that type of thing. It's different for the kids versus the adults, right? So it leads me into NXT, right? And two of my favorite matches, two of the best matches that I've ever been to, were you when you lost to Johnny Gargano 2 out of 3 falls. It's like a top 3 match I've ever been to live.
Oh, thank you.
And Gargano is supposed to be fighting Ciampa, and you become the substitute for that match.
Yes.
And I'm in the background of the shot doing the Adam Cole, baby, you're a villain. It's supposed to be Johnny Gargano's night. And that Brooklyn crowd, New York crowd, is just like, it wants you to win the NXT title so badly. And Johnny wins, and we're like, okay, Johnny won, he deserves it. And then next month in Bridgeport, you guys have another stellar match, and that crowd, you're supposed to be a villain, cheers, because in my opinion, I feel the wrong was righted. Like, you should have won in Brooklyn. You didn't win there because it was Johnny's night, and I understand the story, but you got the title in Bridgeport. So my question is more about like those matches with Johnny Gargano and putting together a 2 out of 3 falls match, and then the one-on-one match, and then I think you did a 3 stages of hell match or something like that. So what was it like in that atmosphere where you're a last minute substitute? The crowd wants you. You're doing every dastardly thing in the book, and the crowd's cheering for every time you're getting it. So what was that experience like for you?
Oh man, I love talking about this because I think so fondly of Johnny Gargano. I think so fondly of those three matches that we had. And again, there were so many interesting aspects to that series of matches. First of all, like you had mentioned, Johnny and Tommaso were in the middle of like one of the best angles, one of the best feuds that NXT has ever done.
I
It
think it's
was
this. I think it's the third best story that's ever been told in wrestling.
yeah, it was unbelievable, absolutely unbelievable. So to be thrown into the fire in the sense of, oh my God, I'm replacing this incredible match, this incredible story. I was like, oh God, here we go. Hopefully we can make this work. And then I'm so glad that you brought up the crowd, specifically in the 2 out of 3 falls match, because the thing I take the most pride in with that match, aside from the fact that again, I love working with Johnny. The crowd was on fire all night. It was just such a special night. One of my favorite moments of my career as well. But in the beginning, the audience definitely was more so behind me than behind Johnny, for sure.
Guilty.
But the last like 15 20 minutes of that match, we could both feel the audience shifting because Johnny was fighting from underneath so long and so hard that finally the New York crowd was like, "Dang it, man! Oh, come on, Johnny, come on, you could do this." It was incredible, and the crowd exploded when Johnny won at the end of that match. So we were really proud of that because sometimes. I don't have an issue at all with if I'm the bad guy and I come out and there's cheers during my entrance, that's totally fine. That really, especially with the boom and the Adam Cole Bebe and stuff like that, I actually really enjoy that. But during the match, to get them to boo me and cheer for the babyface is very exciting. Um, but yeah, that series of matches was so fun. I think people were really just invested with two guys going toe to toe for the first time on such a big stage and a big platform for a very important championship. So again, the night in Bridgeport was super special. That was actually my favorite match from the series. It was just a straight up one-on-one wrestling match. And then of course the 2 out of 3 falls match that we had in Canada was also a lot of fun where we did some wild stuff. But yeah, man, I look back very fondly at those series of matches, and Johnny Gargano is one of the best that I've ever stepped into the ring with.
And I mentioned meeting you in Dallas. You were good enough to sign my personal photo from the
Oh,
Bridgeport event. So,
nice,
so
nice.
I am forever grateful that
Oh, of course.
that's tremendous. And again, it's like this is fun for me. AEW Ticks, if you want to go to, I mean, if you're watching this in Cleveland, because the internet is so strong, like go see Adam Cole return to action tonight in
Yes,
Cleveland against Buddy Matthews. His
yes.
return match tonight in Cleveland.
In
They've got
over a year, first
in
match in
over a
over a
year,
year.
which is wild. And they've got the
Yeah.
Young Bucks defending the tag titles. Team you're very familiar with.
Oh yeah.
Uh, they're involved in their own little story too. But New England area has Manchester, New Hampshire, November 6th, Providence, Rhode Island, November 7th, and then Bridgeport, Connecticut on November 13th. I do have at least one more question for you that's non
Sure.
AEW related.
Sure.
Were you ever asked to be a manager?
I have never heard of this. So, and this
Okay,
this
so do
is
you want me to tell you where it came from for me is in the time that there in the time that you were there was a talk about you moving from NXT to Raw or SmackDown. Maybe it was
oh
around the
yes,
draft
yes.
time.
So I do
And
know
there
the
yeah,
story. Yeah. Yeah.
okay. So
Uh
there was a time where the rumor out there was that
mm,
you were asked to be a manager for somebody else.
yeah.
So did that ever happen or was that just the internet being the internet?
So I truly do mean this, in because again, pro wrestling is wild, and I know there's discussions that go on that, of course, not all of us hear about. No one ever personally told me, "Hey, we want to bring you to Raw or SmackDown to be a manager." Now, I'm not saying that was never discussed amongst people without my knowledge. I
Sure.
certainly think it's possible, but as far as them bringing me into a room and saying, "Hey, we want to keep you, but we want to use you as a manager." I never had that discussion. I
Okay.
never heard that.
That's
Yeah.
something I've always wanted to ask you. My closing
Yeah.
question will be AEW related because I know,
Sure.
we probably spent too much time talking about other stuff. But it's promoting you, and I want to promote you and the
This is
company.
my
And
story. This is my story.
yes,
Yeah.
yeah,
Yeah.
and I'd love to do one of those long form, like 2-hour Chris Van Fleet episodes,
Oh, sure.
because those things are great. But
Yeah.
I personal to it's my podcast, so I get to selfishly ask questions unless somebody objects. As long as I don't get you in trouble, which I don't want to get you in trouble.
Oh, not at all.
Um, Brian Danielson just retired, and Brian Danielson is one of my favorites of all time.
Yeah.
And are you disappointed that at least at this moment, you and Brian never got an AEW match?
Yes, yes, no doubt. And again, I respect Brian Danielson so much, like everybody does. I mean, Brian is so universally loved, respected, and admired, not just by fans, but literally by every wrestler I've ever met. I mean, Brian is without question one of the greatest of all time to ever do this. And I look back at the one match that we had on SmackDown, and I think back so fondly of that night and that moment. That was the first time we ever stepped into the ring together, and it was a dream come true for me. It was an honor to step into the ring with Brian Danielson. So I got so excited at the idea because we both debuted the same night here in AEW. I
Yep.
thought, oh my God, we're gonna get the chance to do it again and in AEW in front of the AEW fans. I can't wait. So at least now, for the time being, it seems like that probably won't happen. So of course that's a bummer for me. But Brian's health, and Brian's safety and Brian's legacy is the most important thing. So I'm glad that Brian is able to rest and heal. And again, Brian's one of the greatest to ever do it. And selfishly, I do wish I could have stepped into the ring with him again. But who knows? Never say never.
I
Maybe
know.
someday. Maybe
I
someday.
know. I was wondering if that was the only match you guys got, if it wasn't like in some random it's like PWG or
Yeah.
ROH or something like that, but that was the only one, and it took the Saudi prince holding the company hostage to have it happen. Hey,
Yes, that
something
in
special.
one of the craziest situations of my entire career, I got to wrestle Brian Danielson, which was wild,
So
wild.
so so I guess this will be my real last question, because
Sure.
so that day happens and you realize that they're not coming back. What happens? Are you on a flight to wherever, like 3 hours before the show? Are you driving somewhere? Like, how does
Oh,
that
oh,
day happen?
man, I could tell you the whole story. So I am. It's a Friday. It's
Mhm.
around noon. I'm there. I'm just walking around. I'm having a cup of coffee. Just,
So
oh, I
you're in
got
the
an off
building.
day. Oh,
Are you
oh,
in the
no, no.
building?
I'm at
No, okay.
home. I'm
Okay.
I'm actually at
And
at my
home is
home in
Orlando, Florida for you, right?
Orlando, Florida at the
Yep.
time. I'm there. I'm like, okay, I got a chill Friday. I'll go to the gym at some point, just kick back, relax. We'll see what happens. And I get a call saying, hey, you're needed for SmackDown and you need to go to this airport, where there's a plane there to take you and some of the NXT guys to SmackDown. You need to be there in an hour. I'll send you the address. They sent me the address. It's 50 minutes away. So I had 10 minutes to throw all my stuff in a bag, get in my car, go as fast as I can safely to this airport. I get there, I'm on this plane. Shawn Michaels is there, Roderick Strong is there. Again, a bunch of the NXT crew is there. I'm putting boots on the plane, and we're all trying to figure out what exactly is going on. When we land, it's 8 o'clock, so the show has started already. We get into a car. We got a police escort to the building. I arrived there around 8:30 is when I entered the building. Me and Brian went on at 9:30. I had never wrestled Brian before. We had no discussion, didn't talk about the match. It was one of the most wild, crazy experiences ever. And it was so wild that almost you didn't have time to be nervous. Like, there was just no other option. You had to just go, go, go. So just an unbelievably wild day, but so happy that it turned into like such a special show because people still regard that one as a really, really special one, and it certainly was for me. So, but yeah, just an unbelievable day, unbelievable day.
Yeah, that's one of my favorites, because it's two of my favorites going at it head to head.
Oh,
It
thank
is.
you.
I'm gonna lead the witness into a final closing statement, and it is your goal as of right now to end your career in AEW.
Yes, Yes, I believe so. Of course, like we say in pro wrestling, obviously, never say never. You never know what's going to happen. But I love AEW with all of my heart. I love our crew. I love our boss. I love our fans. I absolutely love it here and have no real plans of leaving.
You want to go see Adam Cole? You got to go to AEW. If you're in Cleveland and you're watching this, AEW Tix, his return match tonight. Next week is November 7th, Providence, Rhode Island for Collision. Manchester, New Hampshire is Dynamite, November 6th. I went in backwards order. And Bridgeport, Connecticut, November 3rd. Adam Cole, thank you for your time. More importantly, thank you for holding your phone for a half an hour here, because I
I hope I did
appreciate that.
okay. I hope I did okay. I was trying my best to be as sturdy as possible.
Let me tell you, Adam, you went above and beyond, because not only did you
Okay.
have to suffer and talk to me and my silly questions for half an hour, but you also held your phone in a nice way that the audience hopefully will appreciate more. But
Oh,
Adam Cole,
good.
thank you so much. Continued good health to you, continued
Thank you.
success, and get that MF or MJF out of my.
Hey, you have my word, my friend. I got it.
Thank you
I
so
got
much,
it.
Adam.
Thank you.